Hey, everybody. Welcome to RiverCity-Media Beyond the Booth. I'm the Howard Chaney along with co-host Phil Harris, and we're going to get right into it because it's going to take me a half an hour to run down all these accomplishments that our guests have accumulated over the years. We've got Spring Garden Lady Panthers Coach Ricky Austin. I got it right. And his daughter and two-time Miss Alabama, Ace Austin. Guys, thanks for joining us and congratulations on everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's go over a couple things real quick for Coach Austin. 9 state championships on the basketball side, all of them on the girls' side. 3 volleyball state championships. A boys' record of 217 and 183, a girls' record of 732 and 168, and a volleyball record of 688 and 323. No way I could add all that up and get you grand total wins. So I'm not that smart. A 2-time back-to-back state champion and a 1-time three-peat state champion. And for Ace, like I said, a 2-time Miss Basketball, 3-time Player of the Year award winner, an all-state player for 5 years, and then the 6th year honorable mention. What happened on that 6th year, Ace?
I don't know. I guess I'll, young little 7th grade me. I was just there and I didn't know what I was doing. I was just there playing. So I guess you could say I wasn't really trying hard enough. I guess I'd put it there. But I won state that year, so that cancels it out.
There you go. And before we went live, I was sitting here trying to figure it up, and I'm guessing maybe between Coach and yourself and your mom that also helps out, close to 30 championship rings in that household.
We've done some math around here. We've tried figuring it out. So it's around that number.
That's awesome. Coach, one quick question. I'll turn it over to Phil. Winning back-to-back and then winning a three-peat as well. How difficult was that?
I get that asked a lot. And the hard part was before it all started. We knew we had a good group coming, a big senior class with Ace's age group. But, when they were in the 6th, 7th grade, they started talking about state championships, wanting to win state championships then. So, really once it got going, the hard part was just keeping everybody healthy and making sure we didn't become complacent. And I think we did a pretty good job of that just because this group of kids like to compete so much. And as soon as one championship was over, they would already be talking about what was coming up next. So it was a blessing for me to be a part of it and walk in the same path with this group of kids. But it really was so much fun. It was easy.
Awesome. Phil, I turn it over to you, my man.
Okay, first thing I want to ask, I want to go back family part, Coach. You've got three sons, and I want to talk a bit about them, Riley and Cooper. We don't hear a whole lot about them. Everybody knows about Ace, but we don't hear much about them. And, of course, Dana Bright, who is an outstanding basketball player in her own right, mother. Tell us a little bit about them and what they mean behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah. And I appreciate that question because obviously Riley being the first, one that I coached, I learned a lot through coaching my own kid, through him. He was very patient with me. But, yes, him and Cooper both are such a part of Ace and just so much being all in, the excitement, the challenges they threw at Ace. Riley being the oldest one and coaching him first, he was a really, really good basketball player, a really good point guard. He had a great mind for the game. He probably wasn't quite as athletic as Cooper and Ace, but he had the work ethic, he had the determination, and he had the personality to be a point guard. He had some really good leadership skills about it. And, then Cooper come along, maybe a little bit more athletic. Maybe he learned a few things from Cooper. And both of them were surrounded by good teammates. And so they both played point guard. I had Riley for point guard. Of course, I coached them 7 through 12. But on the varsity level, I had Riley 9 through 12, had Cooper 9 through 12. And so having them as point guard and being an extension of me and it got to the end of both of their careers as well as Ace's career where they really challenged me to really work hard to find ways to get them better because they worked really hard, studied the game, and they learned as much as I knew real quick. So they made me a better coach just by them wanting to be all in and doing what they do. But just quickly before I move on to Dana, once I figured out with Riley that they wanted to win, and winning and losing was just as important to them as it was Dana and myself, it was really easy to coach them, and that made it a lot of fun. And it probably took me a couple of years to figure that out with Riley, that, it was just as important to him, and he was working just as hard as we were. And I finally just found a point where I could relax and enjoy coaching my kids, and it was a blessing to get to coach all three of them. Dana, now, our relationship started in basketball. I remember I came home from JUCO college. I played at Southern Union. I come home one summer, and our high school gym was always open. People coming in, playing pickup games. And her senior year, her and her twin sister, Jana, was coming in to play pickup games with the guys. And that's the first time I had really, played a lot of pickup game with them. And I was, wow, you're pretty good. You want to go have a burger? And, it just kind of went from that, and we started dating. But basketball's always been a big part of our relationship. When she was at Jacksonville State, I worked kind of behind the scenes with her, breaking down game film, and that kind of gave me the foundation of who I am now. Kind of, getting that opportunity to break down game film things for her at such a higher level. But then when she decided to come back with us, when we started having kids and help us at Spring Garden, we took on a different level. And it was just, one, because of her knowledge of the game and her passion and willingness to compete. But number two, the most important thing was she treated all the kids at Spring Garden, not just the girls program. Me and her were in PE together, but she was that mother figure to everybody. But yet, she could step on their toes in a gentle way. And to this day, she's not working with us now. She helps in basketball, but she's kind of double dipping a little bit, working over in Georgia. But when she comes to school and helps us in basketball, no kid in that school still wants to disappoint her. And she hadn't had to do a lot to earn that respect. All that respect just goes back to how she handles herself, and that directly affects our team. Our girls basketball players really try to walk the same shoes that she walks, and that's been such a blessing for us. So yeah, it's a family thing, but it's beyond just this immediate family. It branches out to our whole community. We're very blessed to have that, that family feel about it.
Yeah, well, naturally, as many years as you've been there, it's going to be family. The community's going to be involved, and and I guess that's probably a blessing at Spring Garden is probably most of the people, that supporters in the community and your administrative staff, pretty much let you run things the way you need to.
Yes, it's been very open. One thing is for sure, at Spring Garden, and just like most small schools, big schools, they want to win, they want to compete, but there is a standard there. They want to do things the right way. And so, all that just, we can put a product on the floor, but they help shine it up and shape it. And it's, really fun for them to be a part of it. It's important that those gym lights come on basketball season. It's important that those baseball lights, softball lights, football lights are on. It means a lot to our community.
Yeah, definitely. So, of course, you've got a special, add to the family. You've got a granddaughter now. And, of course, that makes you an aunt. I guess that's been a little extra special also, hasn't it?
It has. It definitely has. Me and her spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, and I guess, and Coach, I know you've been asked this 100 times, is this going to be it? Or are you going to retire? And we talked a little bit about this on the phone, and you were and we talked about Kerry Ellis, and you kind of parallel him. Yeah, it could be time, but these relationship with these kids keeps it going. And he talks about, well, this next group that comes through, I think I'll call it that when that comes. But then there's another group that comes through, and it just keeps you going. And I think you two kind of sort of parallel each other. And also having a granddaughter involved, who knows? There may be a point where you might get to coach her, and that would be a true blessing.
You're right. It is that thing that kept me going. And I've been asked, 10 years ago, how long are you going to coach here? And I've always said I'm going to coach at Spring Garden until kids don't want to show up and play for me. And I don't know. I've been blessed to have that happen. I don't know if I can make it all the way to Mila. That's a long way, but maybe one of our kids could coach her, and I could tag along being assistant coach or something in the background. That would be pretty fun.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, I understand that. Well, and that's like with you, Ace. I know you've got basketball in the future. What if you don't have basketball? What are your future plans?
I haven't decided what I'm going to major in yet, but I've decided between going into business or criminal justice. So they were one of my future plans, but I haven't picked out of them two yet.
So I guess you haven't caught the favor of coaching basketball, right?
I have not. Me and Cooper was actually talking about that today because he said, he's been coaching, and I just said, I don't know. That's just not in me. I feel like I've got to be the one that steps out of the coaching part, but it may come back to me eventually. So Cooper, he didn't want to coach. He always didn't want to coach, but he's going to go into coaching now. So it may come back to me, may not.
Yeah, we'll see. You got a long way and a lot of things a lot of bridges to cross between now and then. Well, I want to ask you this. I know you signed with the University of Alabama, but in the dream in the back of your head, do you kind of sort of dream that you could play in the WNBA someday?
I do. Ever since I was in first grade, I remember we had a little paper, and it was like, what do you want to do in the future? What's your dream job? And, I said I wanted to play in the WNBA when I got older, but I didn't know that I was going to be playing college basketball. That was just always my dream. So I would say it's always been a dream for me to be able to play at that level.
Well, Coach Austin, I want to ask you this. You've won 9, state championships, and that's been huge. What has it been a bigger thrill to coach Ace through her high school days? I mean, I know it's great. All these girls are all the same, but it's special having your daughter out on the floor.
It is, and I think I'm just now, realizing that, Phil, and really enjoying it. It's just now sunk in, that, wow, my daughter's, had a wonderful career, and we're just so into the moment, coaching, that I treat all of them the same. I don't think I get on or, coach any of them any harder, any different. Maybe I have held Ace just like some of our better players. I've had Brittany Paris, Mikey Garner. I've had some really good, Paige Anderson. I've had some really good players, and you hold them players to a higher standard, and maybe I've held Ace to a higher standard than even those players. But I think as far as, how much you hurt for them when they hurt, when they lose or they fail, and then how excited you are when they accomplish something, or you see them grow, or, when they accomplish something outside of sports. That's always felt the same, even with Ace and those girls. I really get it's excited for the other kids as much as I have Ace, but it's sinking in a lot now that my daughter's had a wonderful career, and I've been able to go on this ride with her, but I'm more times thanking her for dragging me along to be a part of this. She's let me grow as a coach, and we've got to go places and do things that I wouldn't have got to done if we haven't had a player like this. So, it's been so much fun sharing it with her, and I haven't got to share the level that we've got to play on and the things we've got to do with some of my other former players.
Well, and having Ace out on the floor, I wonder if you ever thought about things like this naturally. I mean, like last year's, I saw her last year, average 20 points a game, and 7 assists. That's huge. And then, of course, about 4 or 5 steals a game. That shows me she's the ultimate team player. she gets out, and not only is she a leader, but she has that ability to make all her teammates better. And that's what this is all about. And you can tell that by her assist. Is there times that you would like for her to be a little more selfish?
We had to have that conversation. Maybe going into her senior year before, we wanted her to be a little bit more a little bit more selfish in an unselfish way. We had to talk about that. We needed more shot attempts out of her, but she's been blessed. We've been blessed to have good teammates. And I've always thought, winning a state championship with one player that averaged 30 plus points a game is a hard way to win a state championship. And it's always been. Ace and I have always talked about, we want to hang as many state championship banners in that gym as we could. It's never been about her averaging X number of points. To win a state championship the way we do, it's got to be a team thing. And Ace is the ultimate compliment as a teammate in that position, as far as she can put us on her shoulders when she needs to carry us. But when it's time to sit back and help her teammates do something, one of the best I've ever seen at doing that, and be able to be so productive doing it. But could she have averaged more points? If we'd have designed a system for that, yeah, I feel 100% sure she could have, scored probably 1,000 more points maybe. But that's not who we are. I don't think we would have as many state championships as we do. And, it's been a lot of fun watching her teammates have so much confidence in her and growing with her because of that. And that's created some unbelievable chemistry on our team.
Well, and I think that's the ultimate for her as a pat on the back, so to speak. People might not necessarily be Spring Garden fans. They might not be Alabama fans, but when they watch Ace play, they're Ace Austin fans. And that's because I believe a lot of it's because she's the ultimate team player.
Yeah, I agree with you. We've had a lot of Auburn fans, and we've even had some Tennessee fans saying, we're going to wear our colors, but we'll be pulling for you, Ace, when you're not playing us. A lot of people told us that. And that's really cool to hear that kind of stuff. And we'll go into restaurants and we'll have some older men come up with Auburn hats on or Auburn shirt. And they said, now, don't be mad at me. I'm pulling for you, and I've been pulling for you. And just to see how she's affected people like that, I think it's a lot because of what you said, Phil. She's such a team player, and everybody likes a team player. And so I think it's affected a lot of people in a way that they understand there's another way to play the game instead of just being all about you all the time.
Yeah, definitely so. And, and I wanted to ask y'all both about this, and I want to ask Ace several questions, but the 1A Northeast Region Championship game at Matthews Coliseum, packed to the rafters, 2 1A teams, but 2 of the best. And it was a great basketball game. Did y'all kind of sort of sit back a minute and kind of sort of absorb the atmosphere?
I don't think there was ever absorbing the atmosphere until after the game. Maybe when that horn sounded, that was about the only time you could just look around and notice about all the fans that were there watching. And there was a Facebook post that was saying that they've never seen that gym that packed and it being a 1A game, and saying how that was bigger than most 7A games. That just shows how people come to watch 1A basketball because it's good basketball. So it was a great game to watch. And I obviously go back and watch that game a lot just for fun.
Yeah.
So, but it was a lot of fun, good atmosphere.
No, I did not sit back. I did not get to enjoy it. No, I respect it so much, and Ider and their players that they had. When I kind of knew they were going to drop down to 1A when they were winning the 2A state championship last year. So when they were in the state championship game last year, I was in the stands taking notes, scouting them. Then I knew what that game was going to represent if we got to that. And I'm friends with Coach Pruitt. He does a wonderful job, and I just appreciate what he does and how the town of Ider, the community of Ider, takes girls basketball serious, and it allowed that kind of game to happen. That was a fun game, got a lot of attention. I had some professors at Jacksonville State, been there for 30, 40 years, said, they don't know if they've ever seen that Pete Matthews with any more people in it than it was that night. And for us to be a part of that, that's just a lot of fun to think about it.
And it was definitely a grind. I know early part of the ball game, Ider got a couple of your girls in 2 early fouls, and it was like, well, this is the way Ider wants the game to go, because they wanted to attack the basket naturally. Kenzie Smith's hard to stop. McKinley can do just about everything too. But then Ace got hot, hit a few threes. Y'all got out to that lead, and that foul trouble become minimized. And that was huge, making Ider have to play catch up.
Yes, most definitely. And we couldn't have controlled that game the way we did once we got the lead if we hadn't had a player like Ace. I thought Ace, I didn't have to coach her into that. She was very good at making the right decisions, whether it was the right time to push the ball, the right time to slow it down, the right shot, the right pass. And that's what stands out to me about that game. But we kind of got a little lucky there in the third quarter. We got a little tired, and we were having to take it easy. And a lot of missed shots on our offensive end just happened to bounce right over their box out and come back to our hands. We were able to milk the clock a little bit more, but we got some timely offensive rebounds that Ace was not involved in, or teammates were involved in, that I thought was a very key point in that game.
Oh yeah, when you play a team like that, it takes everybody. It's not one or two. Well, Ace, you're kind of the coach on the floor, so to speak. And there are times in the game, I guess you feel like, and you sense it, when you kind of sort of need to take over and take control. Do you and coach ever discuss that, or you just kind of sort of get that feel?
We never discussed it, actually. I think the last time we did discuss it was probably like my 8th grade year or so. He was like, okay, like if you want to lose, then just keep doing what you're doing. But if you want to win, you better kick it in a different gear. But no, this year it was kind of just, I would sense when it was time for me to take over. I'm kind of the one that's going to let the game come to me. I'm going to let it come to me. I'm not going to try and push it before it gets there, Because, there was plenty of games where, it was just a steady game until I realized that it was time for me to take over. So, I guess sometimes I think that's the better way to do it, because if you try to just do it from the beginning, it sometimes just don't look as clean as it should. So, my mom's always told me just let the game come to me. So, I'd say that's the best way to let it go.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you about, if your mother has ever, being the player she knows exactly what you go through, and I'm wondering if a lot of times she reminds you just be yourself, and things will just kind of fall into place.
Yeah, for sure. She always says, just go be Ace. So that's one thing that, she always says that, and just let the game come to me. That's the 2 things she's probably said to me. She'll talk, a little bit about basketball, but she knows that if she just says them 2 things, that I understand. I understand what that means in a wide variety. But it means a lot of different things. But she knows that I understand what she's saying, and I'm going to listen to her because I know she's went through the same stuff I have. So I'd say I have 2 pretty good coaches to listen to.
Yeah, definitely so. I would say definitely so. Well, I want to ask y'all this. Y'all are tied up in volleyball, tied up in basketball. And I know at one time, Ace, I think you did play softball. You don't play now. But what do y'all do outside of athletics as a family to kind of sort of get away, so to speak?
If we're not on a family vacation at the beach, we're usually at the creek going fishing.
Oh, okay.
That is what I enjoy doing, that and hitting golf balls.
Yeah,
so that's my 2 hobbies outside, which golf is involved with athletics, but I'd say fishing is my number 1 thing I like to do.
Number 1, yeah, that's kind of your relief, because I that's something I want to ask you about. All this attention you get, how do you deal with it? I'm sure you're mature way beyond your age of having to deal with all this stuff. But how do you deal with all that? How are you able to block that out and stay focused?
I don't know. I've always been the one that don't let things get to me. I just because my mom's always been the one that says, social media can be bad for you, and I mean I do agree because there's a lot of pro athletes that kind of go downhill because of social media. But I do say just one way I get away from the sports is I just spend more time with my brothers. I force my brothers to go fishing with me. But I also just like when I go and hit golf. I did that a lot in the basketball season when I had free time, just because it was just fun getaway. Me and my friends that also play basketball, we'd always just go hit golf balls. But I'm one of them that's, if I'm going to go fishing, I'm not going to be there for 30 minutes. I'm going to spend my time down there and, the peacefulness. So I'd say that's just a few ways I like to just get away.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I want to ask you this. I know you do a lot of things on the court to make things competitive. What are some of the things y'all do outside of basketball team-wise to kind of sort of build team?
That's our kids really are so busy. You would be amazed. We really don't do a lot outside of our competition time and practice time together. We do travel a lot. We go to some, we travel to tournaments. We travel out of state. We've been to Florida several times, Tennessee several times, Mississippi several times. And to me, that's where our team chemistry has always developed and shown up. But these kids hang around with each other so much at school. And, it's just, I think the teachers and the faculty at our school do a better job of creating our school chemistry that affects our athletic chemistry more than I do. We just make sure that once we're in the locker room, we're on the court, we're doing that the right way. But, we really don't, these kids, they go eat together a lot. They hang out outside of practice time together and do things like that. And I really don't want to step across that. So, we did some lock-ins and we did some, things like that. But I've learned one thing, that kids have so much to do these days. You can be overbearing if you force them to do things that sound good, that might not be really producing positive results. You got to give them their freedom. And so I've always thought fresh brain, I get a fresher athlete and a fresher person. So sometimes for that brain to be fresh, we just kind of stay away from each other. And I encourage them all the time when we have a day off, 2 days off. Our schedule now is crazy the way you get gaps from games. I encourage them to go to movies, go bowling together, go do things like that. Be a kid. Get away from the gym. Get away from me. Go do things that a kid's supposed to be doing. And so I found out by doing those things, when they come back, I get a lot more, "Hey, Coach Rad, how you doing today?" when I hadn't saw them in a couple of days, instead of when they walk in the gym and they're kind of dreading it. So I just feel like keeping their mind fresh and let them be a kid. I think that's helped our chemistry more than anything.
And that, you make a great point, because I played for Jim Kirby at Valley Head, and that's the way he was. We had practice time, but once practice is over with, it's your time. I don't want you thinking about football all the time. I want y'all to go do some things outside of football. But now when we get back here, it's all business, and we're going to get it done and get it done quick, get our work done. He said, but I don't want y'all thinking about football all the time. And the way he coached us, I guess, is the way, because the season's long and you're going to be in the playoffs. So if you can keep the kids mentally fresh, you're at an advantage.
Yeah, yes, I agree. And it took me a while to learn that. Even our summers, I know there's coaches right now wanting their basketball players in the gym, getting ready for spring basketball, but we don't touch a basketball this time of the year. There's so much going on. I let them do their thing, and when June rolls around, we'll get back in the gym and we'll go hard. But during volleyball season, people think we're basketball all the time. During volleyball season, our team did not touch a basketball to after October 31st. And, same thing in basketball. We don't pick a volleyball up during basketball season, but the time we're doing it, we're intense, and it's important to us, and we try to do it the right way.
Well, I want to ask you this. I know Howie had mentioned he didn't want to call you Rat on the air. For the people that don't know you, how did you get that nickname?
It goes all the way back to the second grade at Spring Garden. Just a group of boys sitting around being silly and goofy like little boys are, and we'd give each other nicknames. And I was always a small built kid, and kid had wrote my name down on paper, Ricky Austin. He put Tiny under it, so it goes R-A-T, and it just evolved into Rat from that. That's serious business. And then when I become a fifth grader, sixth grader, seventh grader, my high school coach, Dale Welch, he gave me a gym key, and I become that gym rat and stayed in the gym all the time. A lot of people think that that's, kind of where it came from, living in the gym, but it was really just a bunch of us former, teammates sitting in a classroom being silly, and for some reason it stuck with me, and I'm perfectly comfortable with that name.
Coach, you spoke of Coach Welch. Didn't Coach Welch, in his coaching days, didn't he wear an armband when he coached football?
I don't remember that. I don't remember that. He might have worn it a few games, but he it's very possible. If he thought he could win by coaching one, I promise you.
Yeah, and I think at one time he was at Galesville, and one time he was at Spring Garden, maybe. And
Coach Welch was at Spring Garden and then went to Cherokee County.
Okay, well, it's not the same thing then. That's the case then. One more thing I want to ask you about, and I go back to Ace, is the Hazel Green game. That was a big hype game. I mean, it popped up all over social media. I mean, everybody was talking about that game way before it ever began. And then, of course, y'all won that game. Of course, I think Ace had a real great night that night. But they, in 6A, the top program, have been for a long time. Do you think that was a big catalyst for this season? I mean, that's one of those that's a great game for fans.
Yeah, I could talk all day about the Hazel Green and how that game evolved. And Ace has been put pressure on me. She wanted to play Hazel Green for 3 years, and we just never could work it out. We tried, we talked about trying to play and the locations and all that. We just could never work it out with the way our schedules were falling. And finally, Tim was able to work it out when he came to Spring Garden and played. But, that's probably the most fun game that we played all year long. And I think it was a lot of things that made that game so special, obviously by being two good programs, so many championships won between programs, but two basketball-rich communities. And, and then the way, you had good player with Ace and all their legacy and championships they've won, and it was just perfect timing. And I think, it was really, really good for girls basketball, obviously North Alabama. But I was so amazed to hear from people all over the Southeast that watched the game and called me after the game and before the game. But we had some really good games in Tennessee at Greenville. Christmas is a big tournament up there, 20 teams. They play it out to one champion. Unbelievable players. Highly ranked players, highly ranked teams. But that tournament and the Hazel Green game, most definitely the highlights of this year. But I still think the Hazel Green game takes the top spot. No disrespect to Brilliant in the state championship game. You can't replace that feeling of winning the state championship. That's a different category. But the Hazel Green game, the way we prepared for it, the way the game was played, was as close to ultimate fun that we've had together, Ace and myself, probably any single game we've had.
Yeah, well, Ace, is that one of the most memorable games you'll ever have?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's a game that people all over the state, every age is going to remember. I think my teammates, they're going to remember the state championship game, but they're not going to just remember just the game. But they're going to remember that game. I mean, they're going to remember that game forever. And I think it's just because of the atmosphere and how big of a game it was, and just they knew that Hazel Green was a great team. So that's another reason why that was just one of the funnest games I've ever played in.
Definitely, I understand that. Well, now I know you're still building a path. I mean, you've got a whole lot more goals in front of you. But now that you're leaving Spring Garden, what do you feel like is your legacy that you're leaving behind?
I'm one of them that's, I don't really like to talk about my awards, so I'm just going to push the awards to a side. Nobody's really, obviously they're going to remember that, like, I was a pretty good basketball player, but that's not what they're going to remember. They're going to remember how, I guess I was just a good person around the school. I was always good to the kids. The kids always looked up to me, and I always interacted with them. They would always walk the hallways, and that's just kind of how our school is. The high school people are always going to interact with the young kindergartners, and I think that's one thing for me that teachers, parents, and the kids are always going to remember my legacy as, is just always being that good person to them.
Yeah, definitely. So exactly what you're saying. You want to be remembered as a good person off the court more than you want to be remembered as a great player on the court.
For sure.
Well, I want to ask you this. I know that, you come through a good bloodline. Your mother was a great basketball player. And, of course, your dad, has a great athlete in his own right. But there's got to be more than that. There has to be something inside. And also, what are some of the things? Do you have a personal trainer? What do you do behind the scenes? Because you have made yourself an elite player, and it's not by accident, I know.
Yeah, I trained with a few people here and there, but that's not really what built me. I always watched my brothers, and I always tell people, like, most people watch YouTube, like Steph Curry, they want to be Steph Curry, but I always just watched my brothers, and they always grew up in the gym with them, playing in the backyard, and I by far say they're the reason I'm here. I'm not going to say it's, other people I've did basketball with. They're my number one reason. Them and my parents are my number one reason why I feel like I am who I am today. We'd be in the backyard playing till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, and because they knew that we were outside. They didn't have to worry about anything. They knew we was playing basketball, and not just basketball. They even me growing up in high school, they were always still challenging me. Just not just being the basketball player, but being a leader. And they always like to challenge me. I know one time we was playing Oxford, and I was sick as a dog, and I was laying in my bed till it was time to leave to go to Oxford. I did not get out of bed that whole day. I haven't ate nothing. I was throwing up. I was sick, and I think we lost to Oxford. I think I had 15 points, and Riley, and this was my 10th grade year, and Riley, he called me and chewed me out for how I played, why I was so lazy, why I wasn't hustling for the ball. And I was like, I was sick. I was like, I couldn't do nothing. I was seeing 3 rims. I was like, I felt like I was going to throw up. He was like, I don't care. And he was like, you think people's going to be like that when, in the WBA college? So I was like, that's one thing that's always going to stick with me.
Oh, so in other words, inside the family, you've got a huge window that you've got to, you've got to really, because they're going to be the hardest ones on you probably.
For sure.
Well, I want to ask you that. Of course, I was wondering how, your name is Ace, and I finally found it. That's your middle name. Your first name's JC. Right. Do you like that name? Of course, Ace is the ultimate name for an athlete. There's no doubt about it. No way in the future you'll go back to that name.
Yeah. Well, Ace will be my name. I've already looked up a few times how much does it cost to get JC taken out of your name. So there's one person that calls me JC, and it's my grandmother. So obviously I can't really take it out because she calls me that. But there's tons of people. They do not know JC is my name, and when they ask me what my name is, I don't want to tell them. I don't want to tell them. I'm like, it's Ace. It's Ace. So I'm still a little mad they didn't stick Ace as my first name, but we're getting there to maybe just Ace Austin instead of JC Ace Austin.
Yeah. So I've kind of let the cat out of the bag, but I was just wondering if that was a nickname that stuck. And I said, I got to find out because I've got to ask, because there's no doubt about it.
Yes.
Well, I want to ask you this. Of course, you've signed with the University of Alabama, and we're so proud for you. All of us that are naturally Ace Austin fans, and will always be. What made you decide on Alabama? What sold you on going to play down there?
To me, they kind of just, anytime I would talk to the coaches, I'd be down there on campus, it just felt like more of Spring Garden. Obviously, it's two different towns, but it was just the culture there. They were very family-like. They all were there for each other and was encouraging each other. And, a lot of people say that all colleges are like that, but when you're going through the recruiting process, you really figure out the cultures, and there's not many cultures that are family-like, and with the coaches that believe in you and are faith-based and just encourage you. And so to me, it was the coaches and how they really believed in me, and I could tell that they really wanted me. And that was one thing that always stuck with me. And when we would call, obviously the recruiting process was, it was tough. It was stressful sometimes, but to me, it was one of them things where when they call you, it was like they did not want to talk about basketball. That was the last thing they would talk about, and it was always just talking about my family, what I'm doing, how's school going. So to me, that was one thing that just always stuck with me, and I just knew that they believed in me and they wanted me.
Who were a couple of the other schools you were really, truly thinking about besides Alabama?
I had went to Clemson on a visit, Missouri. I had Mississippi State. I had Florida State. I had a lot of other schools, but I just felt like, why am I waiting when I know that Alabama's my fit? And I know a lot of people always say, I would have had tons of other offers, but the offers would have just been where they are now. I wouldn't have wanted to go to there because I know that Bama is for me. And, I love the coaches there, and that's important when you want to commit to a school. And I wouldn't want to be under any more coaches than who I will be going to for my next years.
Yeah, and I can see your point, because sometimes it's like, when you look at the ultimate schools like your Connecticut's and, the name with the big names, a lot of times the culture ain't great, because if you don't perform, you're out the door. And, and it's kind of like a revolving door, where some schools, you want to win definitely, but you want to be part of something special naturally. You want to be there 4 years. You want to be with your teammates for 4 years. And, sometimes that is better than maybe being in that starstruck university.
Yeah, I fully agree, because, there's a lot of players that just want to go to the school that's the big name, like South Carolina, LSU, UConn, just because it's that school. But they're not going because they love it, I guess. Because a lot of people are just entering the portal now. But I feel like I don't know. I think it also just shows, where you grew up in high school and, how you were built in high school to where you want to go to college, because you want to go to where who fits you best and how the culture is. And I feel like that was just the best fit for me.
Yeah, and that staff that's down there right now has been there a while. So more than likely they're going to be there the 4 years you're there.
Yes, sir, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Coach, getting back to where we was talking about where folks talked about you possibly retiring, I know you're going to want to follow Ace no matter where she goes. If they play in whomever, you're going to want to be there. And you've talked about this, that Spring Garden is going to try to make it as easy for you, if you'll stay coaching, to make it as easy for you as they can so that you can follow her. And if I'm in your boat, that's going to be the ultimate prize for me. And I'm sure you feel like, too, you don't want to stop coaching. as long as you feel like you're productive.
You're right, Phil. Coaching's who I am. It's what I do. I don't do anything else really. It's this weekend. I was in Virginia coaching in the Nike EYBL circuit with my son Cooper, and so it's just who I am. And yeah, Spring Garden is special. I'm not looking to leave. Obviously, over the past years, I've had people call opportunities, and I would always say it's not the right time. It's not the right time, because I knew my kids were, they were not going to leave Spring Garden. And I didn't want to make that decision for them. That was their decision. And but I did, tell a lot of people in the past that, one day it'd be the right time to talk. And obviously, I think a lot of people just assuming that I was going to retire when Ace graduated. And if I was going to retire, this would be the perfect time to do it. Obviously, the perfect time. But if we can work things out and I can continue. I still got girls that want to play at Spring Garden. They're expecting me to coach them. And why would I want to go anywhere else with a place that's willing to help me continue to grow, and got kids that want to play? And basketball is basketball, so why not do it somewhere where you love it and stick with the community and the people that you know? I don't think I got to prove that I can win at Spring Garden. If I go somewhere else, you got to prove that. And I just don't know if that's who I am. I don't think I'm comfortable in my own shoes right now. I don't feel like I have to, I just want to win at Spring Garden. I'd love to, now there's another challenge. I'd love to win a state championship that, Ace Austin wasn't on that team. Do it another way. Do it a different way. And be a difficult task, but we got kids up there that still want to win. They still want to play hard.
Yeah, of course, the ultimate thing for a coach is to watch these kids grow as people, grow as women, young ladies, men, when you coach basketball for the boys. But that's the ultimate thing, is to watch these kids grow up and then come back and thank you. I'm sure you've often had someone call you, hey, I've got a baby on the way. Hey, I'm fixing to get married. And you're probably one of the first ones that they reach out to, because a lot of times a basketball coach has more influence over these kids than parents do. So you're the positive reinforcement for a lot of these kids.
Absolutely. I've had, a lot of those phone calls, and, a lot of just calling, asking for advice. And it's not something that I feel like that, I'm good at. I can keep it simple. I can always refer back to something that we've, had to battle with when they played or something like that. But we always find an area to make it where it's, they feel comfortable, and it really excites me when they do something good and they want me to know about it. I've had some girls go in the military. I've had some guys I coach go in the military, and that's really cool to know what they're doing right now. And some of them are doing some really phenomenal things, and they, have to be secret about it. But I know that means that, they're doing a lot for all of us, and that's really cool thing to hear from those kids. But, it's Spring Garden, and it's my home. It's my people. And I'm really not looking for another group of people to be with. I don't have to win championships to be happy there. Just like kind of what you referenced to. If we're working hard, we're getting a lot out of that. If we're a team, we're getting a lot out of that. It's going to affect their lives in a lot more ways than just wearing a state championship ring. They're going to be good mothers. They're going to be good wives. They're going to be good co-workers. And that's important to me, to know that I can help affect that from the people in our community, the kids that want to play for me, and people come from our community. That's ultimately, like you said, Phil White. So that state championship banners are great, but those phone calls that I get are way, that's what gets my goosebumps up. So I really do like that part of it, and being able to be involved in that.
Yeah, of course. I tell people all the time, I won a state championship in football, but that's not me. That's legacy. My ring stays in the drawer. That's not, a part of who I, it's part of my story, but it's not who I am. I want to ask y'all one more thing. I could ask y'all a million questions, and I've got hundreds of them wrote down because I could talk for 2 hours. But I want to ask y'all about this, and I'll turn you over to Howie. You couldn't have done this without teammates. I want you to talk about, because I'm sure several of the girls may want to listen to this. I want you to talk about your coaching staff and also the girls on the basketball team. And y'all both can add into this, because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I got to start with the coaching staff. I mean, obviously my wife, she's, a head coach. She's been there, done it, been in all the battles, and she's more of the defensive approach. I'm more of the offensive guy. She kind of comes up with the defensive schemes and plans. I just enforce it and make sure we do it the right way. But she does a lot of the game breakdowns and defensive assignments and strategies. Like I said, I'm more offensive. But another super valuable person on our team is Damon McDonald. Was Coach Howard's assistant football coach, basketball coach, but he's still assistant football coach. But he's been with me now 20 plus years, and he is phenomenal at breaking down game film and scouting, and he spends a lot of his own personal time, personal money, driving all over. I mean, if we play somebody out of state, he is just phenomenal at game planning and he married one of my former players, which is Paige Anderson. So they're really all into basketball, and he loves the sport, and it's not like we work. It's just like we have a lot of fun together and compare notes. And now I have 2 former players on my staff as well, Darian Gaines, which is Darian Austin now, but she's not even kin to this Austin's. It's a different set of Austins. And then my niece is on staff, Madison Sides, and they both played for me. And one of them's had a heartbreak, never won a state championship, got beat in the state championship game. My other niece has won a couple of state championships with us. So they're there. X's and O's are good. They know our stuff. They help with that. They help with junior high. But the things that they do in the locker room with the girls, they probably help develop that team chemistry a little bit more than what we were talking about earlier, things we do off the court. They do the things that make it fun for the kids, which is really great for me because I'm too old to do that stuff now. But they're fantastic of the things they do in the locker room with the players that they knew under me that I would allow, number one, but also would be fun for the kids to do. I would put our staff up against, eliminate me. I would put our coaching staff up against anybody for what they do, and especially at a 1A school. The commitment they've made to a 1A school that's why we are who we are. And it's the people that's involved. And obviously the teammates, and I'm not going to say a lot. I'll let Ace talk about teammates, but Ace has been blessed to have great teammates since the 7th grade. And I've had great former players, but none of her accolades, none of the championships would be there without every single teammate. And I don't care if they was, the best shooting guard or they were number 10, 11, or 12 on the bench. They all played an important role in everything that we've been able to accomplish. And we would not be sitting here talking about all this if there hadn't been some unbelievable teammates.
Yeah, I'll be the one to talk about the teammates. But, I've had a lot of great teammates all the way from 7th grade. I got to play with one of my cousins in the 7th grade, Macy Reedy. And I was all the way from 7th grade to now. I've had some great teammates, and I've learned a lot from them, from just leadership roles. But definitely this year, all the way from all the starters down to the bench, they've all been a huge role in every one of the state championships that we've won and all of my awards. And I've said that in every press conference interview I've had, is that this award isn't just because of me, it's because of my teammates. And, we had lots of seniors. Maggie, she really stepped up this year. And I think that's just what a senior does. And, if a senior didn't do that, you'd be disappointed. And she stepped up, and that's what we needed to do. But she's a great player, but an even better teammate. You always you have to have that good personality, and that's what she has. And Olivia, I mean, the senior who stepped up like she should and works hard. And Avery Stewart and Kristen, we've been together for years. I mean, since, second grade, first grade, playing together. And I mean, it's kind of just, we've all grew up bonding and we've always been best friends. And I think just one thing, Kristen, she's the little one, the little one with long hair is what people usually describe her as. But we just describe her as crazy, not, crazy just because she's the one that's got a lot of energy. And if she is just a little bit off, everybody in the gym is off just because she's the one that's screaming at the top of her lungs and bouncing off the walls. And sometimes, growing through the years, you're like, okay, can she calm down a little bit? But, that's just, he's got used to it. Obviously, he hated it growing up in the years, but this year he's getting used to it. In the locker room, she would say some just out of pocket stuff out of nowhere in the middle of his conversation. And, we'd all just look around, look at her. And, that's just who she is. And that's just kind of one thing that just always just shows how great teammates we are. I mean, we always got along. Obviously, we would butt heads, but that was all because we were all sisters. And, that's what siblings do. And that's all because it was just all on the floor. And we had a lot of young ones on the team this year, and one that's going to be a senior this year who played basketball. She didn't play last year, but she played this year. And without her, I don't think we really would have been where we are. I don't know if we would have won a state championship without her. I don't believe we would have. She was really big for us this year. But we had a lot of young ones, and obviously they didn't play, and a lot of people say there's no way they helped you at practice, but without them we wouldn't have had enough to practice. So obviously they did help us a lot, but it was just a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, like he said, with Madison and Darian. They were just happy to be on the team. They're just happy that they got to play with us and enjoy the time. Obviously, they hated practice. They hated because we pushed them so much harder than they wanted to be pushed. We would run, and they would be throwing up, and we'd be the ones yelling at them that they better hurry up. And but that's just we're all sisters, and I've been blessed with the best teammates I could have ever asked for, and I'm going to miss them. I know going to college is going to be different teammates, but I'm definitely going to miss the teammates that I've had since 7th grade.
Yeah, I definitely saw it. And I was wondering, Ace, when you finished your last game, you won the state championship, and I did the same thing. But when you walked off the court, did it kind of sort of hit you, this is my last game? And there's kind of a sort of a empty feeling there. I can't go any further. This is it. This is my last game. So it's kind of sobering a little bit.
Yeah, it was. I don't even know. We was sad, but I think we cried more on the way to the game than after the game, because it was like, this is our last practice, shoot around, like season's about to end. And then when the game's over, we was trying to force ourselves to cry, and it just wasn't working. So it was just one of them. It is a weird feeling. It is, because you're just like, well, this is the last time taking off this jersey. But it was really fun though. I'm gonna miss it, but I think everybody misses it, and people always want high school to fly by, but I was once that kid that's like, I can't wait to get out of high school. And then now you're just like, man, it's went by really fast. So
it's here. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Definitely. So, and that's like too. Now, when y'all have your reunions and y'all come back and see each other, the relationships are going to change. Y'all are all going to go apart. You're not going to be together again. But we just had a 40-year reunion for our football team this last fall. But when you get together, it will be that what you're talking about, sisterhood. It'll be a lot of I love yous, hugs, a lot of emotion, because you've left a legacy that'll be talked about for a long, long time. And when y'all get back together, you'll really enjoy yourself. I promise you.
For sure. Yes, I fully believe that.
Yeah. Well, Howie, I'll turn it over to you.
Guys, we appreciate your time tonight. I got a couple questions I ask you, then we'll let you get going. But congratulations on a great career, Ace and Coach Austin. Crowd 9 state titles. Does it seem real?
No, and really it don't. People ask me all the time, how many state championships you won, and I still have to count. I mean, not one of them means any more than the other. It's still such a thrill to. I mean, we won 5 in 2.5 years this year, and the last one probably, I was about ready to explode. Just it was just that much excitement, and but no, it don't seem real, and I'm not even sure we realize what we've accomplished. I know it's special. I know that. I know it's special. But I guess when you start dwelling on what you've already accomplished, then you're not going to accomplish nothing else going forward, and I think that's kind of where both of us are. I think we're kind of stuck in that middle right now and still wanting to accomplish other things. So, I mean, Coach Howard has always told me, that's why the windshield's bigger than the rearview mirror. We're always looking straight ahead, not behind us. And I feel like that's kind of how we both feel right now.
Ace, take away the state title that you won this year. What was your proudest moment or most memorable moment that you've had this year?
I'd still have to. I mean, you can't go wrong with the Hazel Green game. I think that's just one of the. I mean, awards are great, state championships are great, but it's kind of more just for your school, your community. So I definitely think that game because everybody was, there was. I still think the favor was toward Hazel Green. I know there was a lot of people that was, you better watch out for a little one-day school, but I think that was just. I don't know, just one of the funnest, proudest moments just because it was, everybody on your team had to step up. And honestly, so did your fans. That was one of the games where your fans had to step up just because good team. And, I mean, they had to be loud, and we had a great show out for that game. So I think that was definitely just one of the proudest moments for me of just my team, me, and the whole school just because that was just an awesome moment.
Did y'all play at home that night?
Yes, we did.
Did the fire marshal have to come out and shut the doors after so many? Because, I mean, you don't have an extremely big gym, but I'm sure that place is packed.
We bought his ticket for him. We let him in free. So.
Well, Coach, let me ask you real quick. You went up to Higdon and played this past year up there at North Sun Mountain. What day did y'all leave to get there before the game?
Yeah, you're right. That's a long ride. It's a long ride, but oh wow, what a game that was as well. That was you battle a lot of things when you go up there to play, and our boys coach scheduled it, and he asked, "Do you want to play their girls?" And I knew they had a really good year last year.
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, let's do this." But I had been up there before in the playoffs with the boys team and coached, and man, the way they put their crowd right behind the bench, and man, they get after you. And I'm not saying it's bad officiating, but they challenge you. They challenge you to be really good, and they challenge you to discipline yourself on the sideline and not get carried away. And but that year we went into playoffs. We came out and it was snowing. It was the biggest snowflakes I've ever seen. And I didn't think we were going to get off the mountain. So that trip was a long trip compared to this year. We didn't have to deal with that this year, but it was that was another good stepping stone for our girls to go up there and overcome all that and come out there with a win. And we played really well that night.
Coach, you and Gary Ellison are kind of in neck and neck run as far as state titles and everything. And I asked him this question back a month or so ago when he was on here, and I'll ask you the same thing. Have you ever sat back and came up with your top 5 players of all time? Look at Ace. She's kind of smiling over there. I think she kind of knows a little something.
I'm not sure.
She's got to be in there, yeah.
If I don't make the list, then he's not in my top 5 coaches. So we're going to
I have thought about it. I know I've coached some really good players, and I could probably come up with a pretty good list and a pretty good all-star team. But, behind that, I think I could also come up with a list of my top six, my top 6-man players, I think I could come up with a list of my favorite practice players that wasn't a starter. I believe I could come up with a list that was just my favorite person, top 5 on the team that wasn't that wasn't wasn't a stat getter, that was just how they affected our team in other ways. So I could make a list, but it'd have several different categories.
You did better than Coach Ellison. Coach Eve said he couldn't do it, and I said, what if you came up with a North and a South all-star team where they, 2 different teams there? He said, hey, yeah, I might could do that. So, Ace, let me ask you some quick questions real quick, and then we'll let you get out of here, both of y'all. This is who's better, Steph Curry or LeBron James?
Steph Curry.
Steph Curry or Michael Jordan?
MJ.
MJ or Caitlin Clark?
I got it. I support women's basketball, so I'm going to go with Caitlin Clark. But MJ can do it.
Caitlin Clark or Ace Austin?
Well, just because, let's just say I hope to be her one day. I've dreamed to be her. She hasn't dreamed to be me. So obviously I'm going to have to say Caitlin Clark. But people always say that I'm similar to her. So you shouldn't have thrown that question at me.
Well, I told you if I threw a question out, you didn't have to answer it. Have you been able to meet any of your teammates that you're going to be on the team with at Alabama yet?
I've seen them from AAU and stuff, but I haven't just, got to go out with them and hang out. But, we've been friends just through social media and messaging. So I'm excited. They all seem like great people, and I feel like we're just really going to get along, and it's just going to be a fun group to be with.
Are you going to be able to wear your number 1 down there?
Apparently, I will be. So.
That's the picture. That's the picture I saw. So evidently, it's open. Yeah.
Yep. So they said I was first one that signed, committed. So that's my number.
Have you met your roommate yet?
I will be with the other freshman that's with me, so that'll be good.
Awesome. When do you actually have to report down there?
May 26th. I graduate May 23rd. I've got to be down there May 26th, and workouts and summer school starts the 27th.
Wow. So you got a 2-day senior trip?
My senior trip's going to be here in my house.
Yeah, you're going to be down there on that creek bank fishing, aren't you?
Go fish.
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm going to be doing.
I hate to interrupt you, Harry, but right here, you're going to be in the backcourt next year at Alabama. Are you going to play the point, 2 guard? What is kind of the future plan?
I'm going to say point is, future plans, but obviously wherever they put me, that's what it's going to be. But as right now, it's going to be point.
Okay. So are you going to carry your fishing pole down to Tuscaloosa and find you a place down there?
Well, actually, Coach Curry said she has a good lake that I could fish in. So I'm sure she may see me in her backyard a few days. So I'm going to bring my teammates with me too. So.
Awesome. Good deal. Guys, we appreciate you joining us. Before we let you get going, we always allow our guests to give shout outs to whoever they want to. So, Coach Austin, I'll let you start, then we'll move over to Ace.
Okay. I'll shout out to the entire Spring Garden community. This is a special place. This is a special place. This is, I had a guy, we were at Virginia this weekend playing, and Brian Dominic, trainer, he's with Shooter's Paradise, and what's the population of Spring Garden? And I said, well, I'm pretty sure it's at its peak when school's in session, but I just Googled it right quick, and the 2025 consensus population was 117. And that just, I'm shocked because we're way more than 117, but shout out to everybody in Spring Garden community. Just special place. It's a great place to be. How can you not win and not be successful in a place with this much support? Just, so shout out to them.
He took my answer, but I guess I would just say, I was either going to say shout out to the whole state of Alabama because they support women's basketball now, and they've always supported me. And a lot of them have supported Spring Garden basketball now, and they've always just supported me and encouraged me. So I guess that's gonna be my shout out.
Awesome. Once you get down there, get kind of settled in and everything, we'd love for you to come back on and let us know how everything's going.
Yes, sir, for sure. Thank you.
And Coach Austin, my last question to you is: as soon as the state championship game was over with, how soon was it those underclassmen were saying four-peat?
I don't know that I don't think anybody said that. I think our younger kids were so in awe of everything. We had a lot of kids that never been on in that atmosphere this time. And I think they just didn't want to mess anything up for our seniors, and they were toting their bags for them and trying to pack their bags, and just trying to make everything so special. But that'll be a topic of conversation when June rolls around, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Guys, we appreciate your time. Congratulations on everything this year. And y'all are more than welcome to come back at any time. Just let us know. Coach Austin, if y'all do any type of fundraising, let us know. We'll put it on our website and get the word out there and help y'all out any way possible. So for Phil Harris, I'm the Howard Chaney, and our special guest tonight was Coach Red Austin and Ace Austin, the Alabama signee, coming up playing at the University of Alabama this coming season. So for Beyond the Booth, good night and God bless everyone.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.